Hey everyone. Amelia got a little bit spooked from, I don't even know, me just making a noise. Uh, Welcome to this review, today's review, our second of the
This shit review.
this shit review that I was surprised she didn't like, even though she's only seen it once.
Another
Yeah, and have the DVD, which
hand.
had, yeah. Um, Usually that's how she judges a film, if she likes it or not. Anyway, of course, I'm here, your host, Purple Midnight 8,
Oh,
joined by, as always, Amelia. Who will, I'm sure, plug her stuff at the end or now.
the obsidian Nook. Love. Thank you.
Fuck off. The way you put your glasses on while you were doing that, as if to be like, fuck you. Anyway, if you couldn't tell by the title on the thumbnail, we are here with It Follows, a film that I thought was going to be better from all the things I've heard online. Turns out I was fucking lied to.
What is that?
PUBG. It's some shit that I got for free from redeeming something. That's the bridge where PewDiePie said the N word.
Okay.
Anyway, we're here with It Follows. Came out 2014. Weirdly popular. I don't know why. As I say, I heard a lot of good things online, and we finally get around to watching it, and it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Mm.
I was excited to do this. I was like,
If
oh, you have it on DVD. That would be a good one.
if you want a film where fuck all happens and you have a lot of like scenery of like trees and nature, then this
You
is
like
the
random naked women walking around and one pissing on the floor. Yeah,
film.
enjoy that. Like, this film was perfect for you. Like, I get it's trying to build atmosphere, but nothing comes from the atmosphere. It's just like, oh, we're waiting. I'm waiting. Oh, the film's finished. I
I
mean, you
think
know,
this.
it's not good if I'm only on 2 pages.
Mm.
Like, not even two full pages. Usually they're at least 3 long. But 2 pages, I was surprised by. It got to like a page and a half, and I was just like, are we done? Like, what can I write down other than get scared, run, goes to this place, gets scared, goes somewhere else.
Mm.
Again, as I say, I get the atmosphere, but you have to have sort of a payoff to atmosphere.
A lot of things didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah,
Like it was just like, well, we know it's an entity that's following these people, but in order to see this entity, you have to have sex and on, and it's a bit like, what?
it's never explained, which is fine. I'm all for not explaining, but as with another film which has an invisible antagonist, which is Bird Box.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Invisible.
I mean, Invisible Man, obviously, but he is technically visible, especially in the old ones. He wraps bandages around himself.
Mm.
And in the modern remake, they did have him in a suit that you can see sometimes. But Bird Box had that where Bird Box has entities like this, wherein if you see them, it forces you to kill yourself. It shows you something that you like has some sort of meaning to you, and that makes you kill yourself. Like, one of the characters thinks she sees her own mum and then crashes the car, killing her. But then it's like we don't even see that vision of what she saw, and you don't see that with any of them. And also, there's other characters that have seen them, but they've not killed themselves. They're
Mm.
just mental. So it's like, did they kill them? Does it always? Or it just didn't explain it.
Mm. This one is really trippy as well because it makes you think like, is this person the entity that's following?
It sows the seeds of paranoia, which you can give that credit for. Is it also makes you think like anyone you see could be like the creature
But
following them.
the entities are most of them are really good or got a boob out or like a
It's
neck.
something like that.
And it's just like,
Because it's like,
what is
surely,
with the obsession?
as I said to you, it's either got to be all of them are naked or none of them are naked. Because it's like,
Some of them are.
either it can imitate the clothes or it can't,
Mm.
but it doesn't explain that. It's very decide to clarify, and it just leaves too
And the
much.
best part is, you said that it was apparently getting film number
There's
two.
there's word of a sequel
If
that
that's
may be exploring the origin. And when it comes to films that explore the origin, they usually cover a bit too much and ruins the mystery of what was originally.
I don't think we'll be covering the second one, not after this
Not
release.
not for long after when it's like streaming or something. We're not
Mm.
paying money for it.
Mm.
So anyway, we'll get into the actual. Well, we'll get into the rundown of the film itself now that we've got through our first thoughts. Of course, we'll do the usual of providing our thoughts and opinions as we get through the video itself, and like when things come up that we don't like. You've heard of these sort of things before, so like, come on, it's a review. Like, of course, we're going to comment. So this film is written and directed by David Robert Mitchell, which is someone I do not know, but I will try and find a film he has done.
He has the same last name as your first name.
Aha, he did not a lot. There you go. He has 5 films in his repertoire on Google. So yeah, that's fun. It's fine. It's fine. It happens. Obviously, you got to get your start somewhere, but his last film was 5 years ago. So yeah, you can find it on Prime or Apple TV or any charity shop, like anywhere. It's one of those films where you just see them everywhere and you can't escape them. Oh, I went back too much. So yeah, we'll get into the video now. Spoilers ahead. For a film where nothing happens, I could just spoil it. Nothing happens. There you go. You can stop watching now.
Well, it does happen, but it just doesn't have a lot of drama,
It's just a lot of.
fights. It's just very chill.
It's just a lot of waiting, waiting, waiting. Something happens. Movie ends.
Hmm.
So we'll get into it. In our cold open, which we always get at the start of these sort of films, a girl runs from her house, being pursued by something, which of course is the entity. You'll want to take a shot every time I say entity because that is the buzzword of the episode.
To be honest, the cold open was probably
It should have been that the cold open was a short film and left it there, because then I would have been happy. So she's pursued by something, which of course is the entity. She grabs her things from back inside and gets into the car. And she stops at the beach later that night, ringing her dad to tell her that she loves him. And then it cuts to her corpse the following morning with its legs broken. Which is yummy. As I said to you, weirdly small kill count. Like, not a lot of people die. 2 people die in this film. So that makes best and worst kills pretty easy to pick. So stick to the end until you find that. So yeah. After our title card, we get to meet Jay, who is played by Micah Monroe. She is famous for obviously this, but also I don't know, Independence Day, Resurgence. Never heard of either of those films.
the fifth wave is based on like a YA book.
Of course, you would know that.
The something star, but Greta is like another kind of messed up one.
Mm.
Oh, and Surviving Summer, which I have on DVD.
So yeah, she's in a few things that you know, but nothing much. So she's lounging in a pool and tells her sister Kelly, who is played by Lily Seep. People in this film have some strange names. I won't lie to you. As always, I do not care if I pronounce them incorrectly. I apologise for it. She is known for not a lot. Yeah, it would appear that our cast of this film is very little known, as far as I'm aware. If there is some people that you know from other stuff, I do not, so they're not very well known people. She is meeting a guy that night, and inside her friends Yara and Paul. Yara is played by Olivia Lucardi. She is known for. Let's find out. Uh, don't know. Don't know any of these. She was in a film with Alec Baldwin called Drunk Parents. That's about it. There's a bunch of other stuff I've never heard of though. And Paul is played by Keir Gilchrist. Gilchrist. I don't know. I do apologise. I'm trying. That's just a lot of just crap. I've never heard of any of these things. Is that the Dead Silence? Did they remake Dead Silence with a puppet? Yes. Okay, they remade Dead Silence and he was in that. There you go. That's probably all I can say that anyone would really know him from. Yeah. So they were over watching a movie. Jay gets ready for a date and heads to the movies later with a guy named Hugh. He is played by Jake Weary. Let's once again go see all the films he has been in. I thought I recognised he was. Oh my god, he was in the Fred movies. Oh god, that is not good.
Forgotten all about the Fred movie.
He was in Fred the movie, Fred the show, Fred 2, Night of the Living Fred, Fred 3, Camp Fred. Fred 3 had John Cena in it before he was like acting. Zombievers, It Chapter 2. So yeah, fuck me. We finally have an actor who has been in something I know. Like, what the hell? So he's in a good. Well, I was going to say he's in a good few stuff. He's been in some films. It's a shame that 4 of them is Fred. God, you remember Fred?
Yeah, he used to really like a really big thing when he did the.
It was so stupid though. Shane Dawson had a few films, didn't he?
Oh,
until he came on a cat. Anyway, allegedly, I don't want to be sued. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, she meets with Hugh at the movies. The two play a game where they pick who they'd switch with, but when Hugh picks a girl that Jay cannot see, which startles him, so he asks if they can leave. So that the next day, Jay and Kelly walk by a guy they know called Greg. He's played by Daniel Zavato. He looks a lot older in his Google picture than he was. Oh god, he's the kind of guy that has long hair and wears like a Johnny Depp hat. He was in the Pope's Exorcist. Fucking hell, that was a recent one. That came out this year. Don't Breathe. He was also in a film called Breathe with Andrew Garfield. He was in Fear the Walking Dead. Really? Right now, sorry, I'm gonna have to look. Who the fuck was he in Fear the Walking Dead? Oh my god, he was that guy! Oh my god, I know him! Well, I don't know him, but I know the character he played. He was a piece of shit. Yeah, anyway, he was a pirate, I think. Like the modern pirates, not like Pirates of the Caribbean pirates. Yeah, he was a piece of shit. He was meant to be like a nice guy, but he was a prick. I really want to rewatch Fear the Walking, but then all the new seasons have just put me off. Anyway, sorry, we'll get back to it. So yeah, they know Greg and he waves to them. On another day, Hugh and Jay make love in his car, and after they finish, presumably because he's a fuckboy, he probably didn't, she didn't. Hugh suddenly grabs and drugs her. Realistically, as you pointed out, because usually with like chloroform, they just pass out immediately.
Yeah, like I hate it when they do that and then they just go limb straight away.
It's like one little sniff and that's it.
Not as long as I think they should have.
They did it more realistically than just one little huff and she's gone. So yeah, when she wakes up, she is tied to a wheelchair with Hugh nearby. He attempts to explain his reasonings for doing so, which of course, understandably, sounds fucking mental. He explains that someone is going to follow her that takes the appearance of anyone, which could be who she knows, could be people who she doesn't know, or could just be random naked people for some reason. Hugh suddenly spots it below, taking the form of a nude woman, which Jay can also see now. Because, of course, she now has been passed on the curse, or whatever you want to call it. The woman slowly approaches him, and the two escape in Hugh's car. And he later just dumps her off back at home where Kelly, Paul, and Yara are waiting for her. Police arrive afterwards, which Greg sees from across the street. Jay tries to explain the nude woman to a police officer before she's taken to hospital. The police then have a search in this weird abandoned place they were when they had their love-making session. But they don't find anything. They don't find a nude woman, and they don't find Hugh.
No, but they find her
They find her
bag.
bag, yeah. And the wheelchair still.
Hmm.
Jay at school notices an elderly woman slowly approaching her from outside. And when she leaves her class and tries to speak to her, she gets no response. But some girls seem confused as they are unable to see the woman. Because she basically yells hello, and they think she's fucking mental. Which is fair. She tries to explain it to Kelly and Paul later on, and that night the group of friends stay over at Jay's. Jay goes to Paul, who is meant to be sleeping on the sofa, but is just watching an old film on an old television. Yeah,
Film.
I remember someone saying about this is it's got no like fixed time period it's in.
Yeah.
Because like everything's modern, but she's got like this old TV. Everyone's cars are like from the 70s. But also, Yara has that weird like Kindle thing on her that she uses to
I was
read.
thinking the same because I was like, everything just seemed old.
They're
But
always watching old movies on old TVs. But like the police are modern, the hospital's modern, everything's. It's just a bit strange, which is interesting, I guess, but it doesn't mean anything in reality. So yeah, she goes to Paul. The two joke around until they hear a window smash. Paul investigates, finding nobody there, but when Paul heads on upstairs, a woman who, may I add, for whatever reason, A, has her tits out again, and B, is pissing all over the floor. Sure. So approaches Jay, causing her to run upstairs, and she shuts herself in a room until she hears Paul and Kelly outside. She opens the door for them, and when Yara knocks, they open the door, only for a tall, eyeless man to appear behind her. He is massive. He literally lurches in out of the dark. It's a very famous clip. Played by a man who genuinely was that size when he was alive. He is played by Mike Lanier. I don't know what his size was. How tall is the guy from It Follows? 7'7" he was. He passed away when he was 4'8". 48. He and his fucking hell. He's in the he has a twin brother who, and both of them are Guinness World Records, which got him the role. That's terrifying. Imagine knowing someone who's 7'7". That's madness. So yeah. Anyway, Jay suddenly escapes out of a window and takes a bike, which Greg sees. Greg does a lot of like background appearances until like Act 2. So he just sort of like is there, but he's not really a main character yet. So yeah, she takes a bike and then rides to a park, which is a good idea because she can't be ambushed because she can see everywhere.
no, but then she kind of runs backwards between like the house, the beach, and it's a bit like, well, like you said about the plane.
Yeah, another thing a lot of people say is why don't they just take a fucking plane somewhere?
Mm.
Because there's no way of knowing whether or not we could see that it can swim in the finale,
They
like at the end of the
said
film,
in
but
the
can he
film,
drown?
they said in the film that it will only ever walk.
Yeah.
Because if you notice between scenes, they were waiting a hell of a long time for it to turn up. So it can't. So if it can't run, I can imagine it can't drive. It can only ever walk.
As I say, we do see it swim at the end of the film,
Mm.
only briefly, but what's to say it can't drown? It's impervious to gunshots, as we find out, but it doesn't specify anything about if it can.
So now
Are they suggesting it can walk along the bottom of the ocean, or is it going to try and swim?
it kind of you know, like the theory that I've heard about the plane, it kind of makes sense.
Also, like, it's gonna if you take one flight from one side of the world to the other, that's gonna take him fucking months to walk
Mm.
all the way from North America to like somewhere in Eastern Europe. As I said to you. Plus, what if it got stuck in like what if someone in the Antarctic had sex? Would it freeze?
I don't know.
What happened if they fucked an astronaut and he went up into space? Is it gonna walk upwards?
Probably if they did all these, they wouldn't really get a film out of it,
Oh,
would
shut up. It doesn't matter, that's not my point. It just leaves a lot of questions that never really gets answered. So anyway, she sees her friends approaching her and they reunite until she sees Greg approaching, which they initially believe is the creature again, but it is actually Greg. And they all decide to go find Hugh, including Greg, who just randomly just decides he's going to help, which is fine, I suppose.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like they were all trying to get in her pants a bit, especially between
Greg
Greg
and
and
Paul were really horny for her. They drive through the night until they come to a house that seems derelict. They head inside and find it abandoned, but with signs someone was living there. Like the windows had bottles next to it, like on string, like chimes, so that if someone obviously touched it, they clink around. Paul looks for a titty mag, as you called it, and you were just like, of course he's looking for a porn mag. When conveniently, he finds an image of Hugh with another girl in a high school jacket. So, as a result, they head to the school together and learn his real name is Jeff. They all discuss it in Greg's car, and they later head to Jeff's home, where we see Jeff. Where we see Jeff's mother is the original entity in the film. So, the original naked woman is Hugh or Jeff's mother, which I'm surprised he wasn't like gagging at. But again, why was she naked?
yeah, it's just like some weird obsession.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Jeff is there at the house, and they all discuss how if one person dies, the person who gave it to them will be next on the list to die. Like how in Final Destination, if it goes through a list of people and how they would die,
Mm.
but a list of, I don't know, people
Oh
who
my God,
fucked.
coming
I know there's a new one coming out. We need to cover the other ones first. That's a way away in the future, though.
out.
So yeah, when someone walks past them, they they start off mistaking her for the entity out of paranoia. As I say, they do that a lot, and it's just like
It's
do
like
something
they're
else.
standing there and they're like, "Do you see that girl?"
And she gives them the look that I would give them. Like she just gives them the dirtiest of like bombastic side eye. So yeah, without Jeff, which I thought was important to put in because I was about to be like, they all head out, but no, Jeff doesn't go with them because he's a pussy. They all head out once more through the night until they arrive at a house by the ocean. I think. Excuse me, I just did something. I think Greg said in a line of dialogue that I think his dad owns it,
Mm.
which makes sense because he goes in the shed and there's like a little lockbox in there that he has the key to. I don't care. It could have been a random person's house and I would have cared just the same. Excuse me. So yeah, as I say, Greg retrieves a revolver from inside a shed, and the next day, Jay is practicing using it for defense. And they later go on a little trip to the beach to relax, as Yara approaches from behind. This is quite a good scene. This little bit here. This is just to begin with, you're like, oh, Yara's coming, like okay, but then you see Yara go past on a little floaty in the ocean on her
Mm.
weird little Kindle thing. And then it's like, oh wait, hang on, this isn't true. Entity Yara, as she will be known for now, pulls on Jay's hair, alerting the others who try and fight it off. Poor old Paul gets absolutely fucking thrown. He just get yoinked. They retreat to the shed where Jay shoots it in the neck. It just falls over but gets back up, so it doesn't die as easy as we think. They lock it out, but it manages to break through the door, taking the form of a small boy. who later on we see as a normal person just going around the neighborhood. I mean, it's good that they did that. That they at least had characters that are pointless for the film, but at least there's the entity. So it takes form of people, not just everyday people you'd pass in the street.
I suppose they do that to kind of fuck with.
Yeah, definitely. So Jay escapes through the big door. I think it's a boat shed or something. It's big enough that it has a jetty outside for the ocean, but there's no boat in there, I don't think. No. So yeah, she escapes through that door as the entity continues to follow her as she takes Greg's car and drives off, leaving the others behind. However, she swerves to avoid a truck, crashing the car into a cornfield, which apparently breaks her arm, even though she drove into a ditch and then flat onto a cornfield.
Don't forget tiny.
And the tiny little scratch, which is in every film, that signifies they've been wounded. She wakes up sometimes later to her family and friends who are sleeping around her in a hospital. As I say, having had a broken arm and a little cut on her eyebrow. Greg agrees that night to have sex with Jay in order to pass the curse onto him, so she doesn't have to worry about it anymore, as well as to see it for himself. He's a bit of a skeptic, and he is a skeptic for the rest of his span of runtime in the film. Jay returns home to what she believes is normality, believing that she has now gotten rid of the curse. Greg is updated by the others about Jay, and they refuse to allow him in. Greg still is in disbelief of the whole thing, despite all the evidence that he was a witness to. Jay sees Greg out of her window that night, who smashes a window in order to get into his own house. Of course, this is the entity taking the form of Greg, for whatever reason. Jay calls Greg, who doesn't answer before running over to his house. He doesn't answer the door, causing Jay to go through the window. Before spotting a woman pounding at his bedroom door. It's taking the form of his mother in a dressing gown, who also has her titty out. Again, boobs are just everywhere in this film. This does get a bit fucked up in a minute. He opens the door and is promptly attacked by her, and when we see them again, the entity is dry humping his corpse.
That was a really fucking.
That was the implications there are fucking horrible. That is both necrophilia and incest. If you want to count it as incest, because
can you kind of see now that I've watched it, because obviously the second time of watching it, after having it on DVD, can you see why I'm now a bit like, yeah, maybe I don't want to keep this now?
Yeah,
because
I understand.
It's a bit like Creep, where it's just, I mean, along the lines
having sex with the body doesn't add anything.
But it's like Saw is messed up, Creep was messed up, and it's just like now this one ain't nowhere near as bad as them, but it's still a bit like. It's
still a bit fucked. It has its moments.
Yeah. It just doesn't sit right with.
No. So, yeah, Jay drives away from the entity, who once again disguises itself as Greg. As I said, if I didn't clarify, Greg is dead now. That is our second kill of the film. No one else dies. Not even the entity dies, I must add, or at least it's implied he isn't dead. She sleeps on her car bonnet next to until the next morning. She is stopped in the woods not far from the beach. She heads over, spotting some men on a boat partying, and she strips off slightly and enters the water, possibly having sex with them to get rid of the curse.
They didn't. I'm guessing.
It's possible, but we don't know because it's never explained. She returns home after, where Paul offers to take the entity off her. She denies his help, though. They all head out together with the entity watching from the roof of her house. The entity has stopped moving to stand on the roof menacingly as some creepy naked old guy.
Again.
They said he always walks, and he stands there on the roof watching. Like, make your mind up about the rules of your monster. My God. Why is he standing there? Oh, and maybe it wasn't the monster. Maybe it was just some nut job on the roof with his cock out. Oh, God. So, yeah, they decide they're going to go to a swimming pool where they wait to ambush it. They set a trap for it, planning on dropping an assortment of electricals into the pool to kill it. using using Jay as bait because of course she's the only one who has the curse. Eventually, a storm conveniently arrives because it's Act 3 and we've got to have some scary background like weather. You can't have sunshine and rainbows when there's about to be the finale of a horror film. So, of course, the storm arrives, bringing the entity with it in the form of her father. It's never specified in the film, but she refuses to tell everyone who it is. But she has pictures of them on the mirror, and it's on her mirror at home, and there's pictures of him around the house. So if you didn't see them, you wouldn't know who it is. It doesn't enter the pool, however, but it throws the electrical devices and other objects at her. Because it's like, I'm not stupid, I'll know this is a trick, and you're just sat there waiting to fucking die. Paul scrambles to grab the revolver, accidentally shooting and wounding Yara. Because, of course, he can't see it, but he's still just... I don't know how he can't see it, because he's seeing these objects raise and be thrown. Like, logic would suggest what it is. Kelly throws a sheet over it, allowing Paul to shoot him in the head, knocking him into the pool, where it attacks and almost drowns Jay. Paul once again shows excellent firearm skills and fires into Paul and Pool. Whoever thought of that was a fucking moron. Paul, again, terrible, fires into the pool, hitting the entity in the head, spilling blood only in the water that only Jay can see, that quickly fills the pool with this red mist. As I said, I'm not counting the entity as dead. If they do make this sequel and somehow it's still alive and it's not a prequel, I don't care for it either way. But like, it can clearly survive being shot. Yeah. I don't think because it was in the water it could survive. So yeah. Jay and Paul have sex later that night, and in the morning, Paul passes some prostitutes that he considers passing the curse to. Once again, we don't know if he does that or if he didn't, because, of course, it's ambiguous. However, Paul and Jay visit Yara at the hospital, and the two of them walk down the road holding hands, still being followed by someone that is the... So, of course, that was It Follows. There's a lot of ambiguity towards the ending and whether or not, like, the entity is dead. If you couldn't guess, we didn't like this film very much. Despite all the things I heard about it, I was massively disappointed. Because as soon as you said you had that on DVD, like, I wanna watch it.
Yeah, now we're just like, we're gonna like donate our DVD to the charity shop.
Yeah. We're just gonna get rid of it.
Just because it was just, there wasn't enough action packed and it was a little bit messed up.
Yeah, I know there's horror films with suspense and that, but as I said to you, with suspense you need to have a payoff, and nothing really happened. Plus, there's nothing really... There's a few times where, like, the entity took on more of a threatening appearance, like the tall guy with the eyes. That's about it. That little boy one was quite creepy. But other than that, it's just like this random, like, unnamed character walking. Especially, I found the old woman really stupid looking. I weren't threatening at all. It just didn't feel like there was enough there. And if it gets a sequel, I don't think it deserves one. I don't think it had enough drive to it to really, like, qualify a sequel.
I think they just need to leave it alone.
Just leave it alone. Just let it die. So yeah, of course, best kill, worst kill. There's only two. Best kill can go to the girl at the start, and the worst kill can go to Greg, just because we don't see how he dies. His mum sort of grabs his face, and then he's just dead on the ground.
With the girl at the beginning, her limb.
Her leg was like bent the wrong way. That was about it, but that was some solid gore for a character that we didn't even see that much of. I think, as I said to you, I did really enjoy the score. Whoever composed that did a good job. There was a good few one takes as well, which I always enjoy, where things are just shot without cutting, or it's the shot to look like there's no cut. Like how You know when I get to the school
Yeah.
and the camera kept spinning around?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was like a one take.
Mhm.
Or there was some cuts in there, something like that. So yeah, overall, no, I didn't like it. Unfortunately, I wanted to, I really badly wanted to because of all the hype and good things I heard all over the internet. But
Generally.
this is going right at the bottom of the list above Creep
Mhm.
because we just didn't like it at all. Whereas the other films that are above that, they may still be bad, but there were more redeeming qualities other than soundtrack good and one kill was good
Mhm.
and like some of the shooting was good. But other than that, it's nothing to write home about really. I wasn't even I weren't even scared by any of it. Like if a film can scare me, that's how you know it's good because I'm immune to that shit.
Mhm.
But like, there was no jump scares, and the jump scares were pretty obvious, like with Megan, where it's just sort of like we were expecting the scares to come, and oh look, there's the scare. Like when the boy entity breaks through the door, and then it does that slow zoom in on it. It's like, oh, I hope nothing jumps through it and scares it. Oh look, there you go. So yeah, overall, nah, it's fucking shit. To put it lightly, no, it's not a good film. Um, they could, if they do the sequel and it's actually good, I'll be surprised. Wouldn't surprise me if it came to like being a streaming original or something like that. But if it goes to the fucking cinema or whatever, it's going to be one of those films we'll watch like 5 years later when we see it on DVD and like CEX or something.
Mhm.
So anyway, of course, as always, I've been your host, Purple Midnight 8. You can find me here and in other social medias in the description. Been joined by my wife Amelia, the Obsidian Nook, Patel ASMR, whichever you prefer. You can find a link to the Obsidian Nook in the description as well. Um, my turn next week. Well, my turn in a couple of days. Uh, I don't know what I'll do. I still need to finish. We still need to finish Scary Movie, but I dread it. So yeah, we'll catch you in the next one then, and thank you for listening. When I can eventually stop the recording. Bye.